Welcome back, y'all. Reviewing Married at First Sight, episode 4 of season 14. So, this episode picks up at the end of the weddings, and we see that Alyssa, who is not pleased with Chris, based on just his looks and a little bit of information she got from talking to his friends, and she decides that she doesn't want to stay in the hotel room with him that night, and she wants to get her own room. And this is problematic in and of itself, but then you also don't want to explain to him why you feel this way. He asks if y'all can go and talk off camera, and you say, we'll talk about it in the morning. I mean, the man is blindsided. He has no idea why you are behaving this way. You signed up to come on this show knowing all that was involved. I mean, it's been 14 seasons already, and you have the audacity to shut him down. Nobody's saying that you have to have sex. Nobody is saying that you have to make a decision right now, but this is the process, and you knew that. And it's horrible to watch Chris be treated this way because he seems like such a good guy, and Alyssa is being so bratty and not at all taking into consideration his feelings or how her behavior is making him feel. And it's especially sad because you see that Chris is taking on some of this. He's questioning himself and thinking that maybe it's something that he did to turn her off. And now you can see this man is probably sitting here. He has all night to be up and thinking about this, about where he misstepped or where he went wrong. He does speculate that maybe his friend said something to her. And I said last week that his friends screwed him over when they started saying those things about how he can be overbearing, or he sometimes can be a little condescending, I think they said, which in and of itself is not really bad commentary. We've heard friends say worse things, but because Alyssa who she is and she's looking for anything to hang her hat on, she took those words and she ran with it. So the next day they're having breakfast together, and she's telling him that she doesn't feel well, and she's not really articulating what her beef is. And I think it's because she doesn't even really know. I think it comes down to she just is not attracted to him. That's all it is. So like I said before, she's just using all of these excuses and she's packaging them together to justify how she's behaving. And she has no real answer for this man. She goes on to say that she doesn't feel comfortable spending the night with a stranger, and that she likes to take things at a very slow pace. And this is where I call it bullshit, because you signed up for a fast-paced dating show, essentially. You jumped in head first into the deep end of the pool. This is not an experience for people who like to take things slow. Now, if, like I said before, if you don't want to be intimate with him early in the game or at all before decision day, I can respect that. And I think he can respect that. However, you did sign up to marry this man, to spend nights with him, to be under the same roof with him until decision day. How does that jive with somebody who likes to take things slow? Alyssa, it's not making sense. The math is not mathing, and it's not because it's it's all made up excuses to justify you behaving like a brat. So we reach the portion of the show where each person goes and meets with their new spouse's family, and Chris meets up with Alyssa's mom. And it's evident that she knows her daughter is difficult. She probably can predict some of the things that Alyssa has been putting Chris through. And she says that he seems like a wonderful person. And this is where I get upset with the judges, because her mother says that Chris is the type of person who can center Alyssa. In other words, somebody who will deal with her nonsense and will hopefully smooth her out or balance her out. And we've seen this happen several times. We saw it happen with Chris and Paige. We saw it happen with Gil and Mirla last season. And here it is again. What they're essentially doing is selecting people who are difficult, who are selfish, who are stuck in their ways, people essentially who aren't ready for marriage, be it on a show or in their real lives. And they pair them with somebody who is especially patient, very accommodating, kind, all of these things. And that person always gets their feelings hurt. Chris dragged Paige through that one season. We saw Mirla nearly broke Gil's heart. We saw him crying at the reunion. It keeps happening. You should not be casting people like Alyssa and Mirla and Chris. Or if you do, match them with somebody who's just like them. They are the type of people who only respond well when they are challenged or when they're not treated well. And it's a sad thing to say, but they walk all over what they consider nice guys and nice girls. And Alyssa is the same thing. You match her with this guy who is just going above and beyond. And it was really frustrating when they were talking on the honeymoon and he's like, all right, so what do you want to do? And he's like, let's go and let's sightsee in Puerto Rico. She don't want to sightsee. She's just miserable. Everything he offers or everything he proposes, she's going to shoot it down because she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be matched with him. Then she says, well, I like to lie on the beach all day. He's like, cool, let's lie on the beach. And then later on he says, all right, we'll spend hours lying on the beach. And then she's annoyed with him for agreeing with her. So he can't win for losing. If he was to draw a hard line and say, no, we need to go sightseeing tomorrow, or try to nudge her to do something she didn't want to do, she would add that to the ledger of all the reasons why she doesn't like him and why they're not compatible. Yet, when he tries to be accommodating and give in to what she wants, she doesn't like that either. And I think I remember her saying, or her family saying at the wedding that, or her friends saying that she is used to being with men who don't treat her well. And sadly, that's probably all she responds to. Some people, if you give them a good mate, they don't know how to deal with it. It could be because they don't feel like they deserve it. It could be because they feel like love has to be a struggle. It could be because they can't accept anything that comes easy to them. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people behave this way, but it's a thing, and we're seeing it again. And I guarantee if Chris was to put his foot down with her, she might find that attractive. She agrees to go on the honeymoon, maybe because it's contractual and she has to go, but she treats him like crap. At the airport, she walks past him as if they're not together. She gets there. I noticed too that the room that they had selected for them had two beds. That probably was her call because she didn't want to sleep in the bed with him, because normally there's only one bed because they're in a honeymoon. But even then, she still insists that she get her own room. She's miserable. And it breaks my heart because I don't know Chris from a can of paint. He could not be a great person for all I know, but he's trying, and it hurts to watch somebody get mistreated because they signed up for a much better experience, and it's just not fair to them. They're getting robbed of their experience the same way that Paige was robbed of her experience because of Chris. And I have to believe that there will be some residual effects. 8 weeks will come and they'll move on to other things in their lives, but rejection is rejection, and it hurts, and it's public. So even after it's all said and done, even if they get people sliding into their DMs after the show because a lot of people are attracted to them and thinking, oh, this person's a good catch, still they were mistreated, and that stings, and sometimes it leaves a mark. So Chris tells her at one point, he finally mans up a little bit and says, I don't even feel like you're trying here. And here she goes into victim mode. He gave her the ammunition she needed to act a fool. She says that he's accusing her of lying. She's not going to stand there and be accused of lying. And she takes this whole thing and she blows it out of proportion. And now he has insulted her. Later on, they're talking and she's saying something about she needs to be respected, and that's an important element. Honey, he never disrespected you. You asked him a question and he answered you honestly, because you are lying. She's trying to gaslight him into believing that he's done something wrong, that he has somehow, nobody wants to believe that they've disrespected anybody. Most decent people will then apologize or go into a mode of trying to make it right. And because he's a nice guy, that probably will be the way he's going to respond to such a strong accusation. But it's all a fallacy. He's never done anything to you. And that's why I'm just so happy that this is all on camera for his own sanity. So he can look at this later and realize that he's done absolutely nothing wrong. She is a manipulator. She's a brat. And I have no idea why she participated in this. And I'm wondering if, a lot of people say that the show does this. They have one couple each season that is just a disaster. And it's good for ratings and all that other stuff. And otherwise it might be boring. But I'm really beginning to not like this element of it. I think there can be enough drama with the relationships of those who do like and respect each other. I mean, no relationship is easy, even under the best circumstances. That will bring enough drama to keep the ratings high. But you don't have to do is put people like Chris in these situations where they're made to feel horrible and to do it publicly as well. Let me touch briefly on this situation with Lindsey and Mark and why at the airport they ended up taking their own bus. We didn't see it, it happened off camera, but apparently Lindsey asked Olajuwon if he speaks Spanish, and he says a little bit, but he plans on speaking English because that's where he's most comfortable. And she told him that he needs to speak the language of the country. And then he said something to her, and she said something along the lines of, what do you want to fight? And it seemed like it got real contentious. Katina got involved, and it got bad. And she and Mark decided to get on a different bus. So because I didn't see it, I don't really know what happened, and I don't know. I mean, we heard that both of their accounts after the fact, but because Lindsey has been such a problem, and we see how she is a little bit too much. She's a little overbearing, and she seems like she doesn't have a filter. I can see how she might have said something, even in jest, that rubbed Olajuwon and Katina the wrong way. But I don't know if their reaction was appropriate for what she said or did. So we see that they take their own bus, and once they get to Puerto Rico, all the couples get together, and Mark and Lindsey aren't there. Mark comes down later and he tries to smooth things over, which I thought was really cool. I like Mark a lot. I think he is, and I don't want to say this because it's going to contradict what I said earlier about him being good for her, because if she's batshit crazy, nobody should be subjected to that. But he is level-headed and pragmatic, and that is needed in situations like that. So he was, a nice. He extended an olive branch to Olajuwon and Katina, and smoothed it over. So hopefully from this point on, they won't have a problem all being in the same space together. But just worth mentioning because Lindsey seems like Lindsey is going to be contributing to the drama of this show week by week. This recap would not be complete if I did not include this clip with Sriracha. Sriracha is Noi's brother in his drag. I'm not quite sure if it's drag. I don't know if it's I don't know what's going on, but he was a whole lot. And I'm starting to believe that he just wants to be on TV. He's auditioning for something, hoping that somebody will see him and pick him up for some reality show because he's a whole lot. He was messy at the wedding when he started asking Steve if they were going to have sex that night. And he showed up in all of his garb at that lunch the next day. His question was legitimate. What's up with your finances? And because we know that Steve is not working right now. And like I said, I wasn't concerned before because it sounds like he has a really good career and he can make money consulting and whatnot. But, it is something that you have to pay attention to just because, who wants to be married to somebody who doesn't have a stable income? So when Noi goes and speaks to his father, Steve's father puts him on blast and calls him a vagabond. And says that all he really wants to do is travel. So that's a little different than I want to explore a little bit. I want to take some time off and travel the world. That's different than somebody who all they want to do is travel. And this was a red flag for Noi. So when she met up with Steve again, she asked him, "What is your plan? I know that you're not working. What are you doing here?" And she was kind of walking on eggshells, but it's clear the question she was asking. I have to say I was a little surprised by Steve's response. I presumed he would have a plan, or he would tell her that he has some things in the workings or whatever, but it wasn't a matter of when he's going to find a full-time job. It was a matter of if he wants to commit to a full-time job. So I don't know. He consults, and some people can consult and make a good living off of that. I don't know if he has benefits in 401k and all that. Something about him strikes me as a planner, and it feel like he's got a stash of money somewhere. and he's financially responsible. But this is all speculation. I don't know this man at all. But Noi is correct for her antenna to go up because she said she wants to have children, she wants to have a family. So being with somebody who doesn't want to commit to a full-time job could be a little concerning. Now, I'm a huge Jasmina fan, but I will say that I was a little taken aback by this conversation she had with Michael's sisters the next day. She said this is the first time she's been in a relationship that wasn't long distance and dating somebody who's in the same state with her. It's weird to me that you go from that to this. This is like two polar opposites. To somebody who you don't live with, you have time to miss them. By the time you, if you're upset, by the time you see them, you're over it and ready to make up. To being in a situation in which you're with them every day, all day, and you don't even really know this person. And we saw a little something happen. They had something of a disagreement about her being positive and about him looking at the worst case scenario. I thought she read a little too much into that. He's being cautious. He is trying to prepare for things that might occur. I don't know that that makes him a pessimist. And I think her reaction to it, and she even categorized it as an argument, and I didn't see it as an argument. So she has a strong personality. We know that Michael is much more reserved and laid back. Probably the reason that they match them because they love this opposites attract dynamic on this show. I'm concerned though that her strong personality might be a little much for him. It might be overbearing. Katina meets up with Olajuwon's second mom, who I think is his older brother's wife. Not sure. But Katina sits down with her and asks if she believes that he's really ready to commit to one woman. His second mom doesn't really answer the question. She kind of sidesteps it. She gives her a little bit of a gift saying, hey, I'm going to pass this on to you because now you need to be his number one cheerleader. It was the first time I think I saw Katina question this and wonder if in fact he is prepared and ready for this experience, because he keeps alluding to his playboy life and not treating women well in the past. And I think it's might start, just the very beginning of it is starting to sink in, and she's realizing there's a possibility he hasn't gotten it out of his system yet. At the same time, we see Olajuwon meeting with her family, and he always says the wrong thing. You know, we know that you were this former playboy and all this, but he says these things that I don't know that you would bring up with your wife's family. He says he's never struggled in the women department, and now he wants to try something new. Katina's brother is not happy with this. He doesn't like the way this sounds because it does sound bad. It sounds very cavalier and flighty that, oh, let me just go ahead and get married because I've smashed all the women in Boston already. That's what it gives. And I think her brother read that. And when he called Olajuwon on it, and we see a little bit of the locking of the horns. Olajuwon doesn't like the judgment, and the brother is in protective mode of his sister, as he should be. And there was some tension there. And later on, Olajuwon is talking to Katina, and he tells her what her brother had said, and said something along the lines of, you know, I'm not going to be disrespected, or I'm not going to have another man tell me how I'm supposed to behave. Again, he's approaching it all wrong. He needs to understand that these people love her and care about her. And of course, they don't want to hear that their daughter or sister is the flavor of the month. It's the thing that he's doing right now. Nobody wants to hear that. And if he had a daughter or a sister, he would feel the same way. But Olajuwon strikes me as somebody who lacks self-awareness. Like I said before, I don't think he's very intelligent. And he seems pretty into himself. So I don't think he can see outside of himself. All he's seeing is how it makes him feel, not looking at the big picture and realizing why her brother said what he did. So that was episode 4. A lot went on. It was a pretty good momentum. We are moving into the season. It looks like probably next week it'll be the honeymoon, and then them moving into their respective apartments. And the one thing I think most of us are interested in seeing is what's going to happen between Chris and Alyssa, because she is really off the charts. She'll probably stay on the trip. She'll probably move into the apartment because she's contractually obligated. But I predict a lot of distress for Chris moving forward, because I think we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg with her bratty behavior. So anywho, I will be back next week to review episode 5. If you want to be notified of when my reviews go up, please press the notification button, subscribe, share, like, all of that good stuff. And most importantly, please drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about this episode, and we'll talk about it. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.